Well, what an exciting time we're having in our political arena these days, huh? I'll be 78 in another 2 months, and I don't recall ever seeing the state of our political atmosphere and the chaos that it's in now. And everything's up for grabs. And I watch a lot of the news, and I think it's accepted now that Joe Biden is probably not going to be the Democrat nominee. He's not going to be the candidate for 2024. That last report that came out that questioned his mental state was really the torpedo to the engine room of his campaign for re-election. And so the question now becomes, when does he bow out? What many are hearing is that he's stubborn, that he's not leaving, that he doesn't want to. He's going to finish out his 4-year term to finish the job. And then, of course, there's this talk about him being forced out at the convention, and on and on and on. But the one thing that I find is missing is a real key point in this, a real key person in this. You know, years ago, some interviewer interviewed Ray Charles, and he asked him the question, "What's the worst part about being blind?" And Ray Charles answered, "Well, you can't see." So sometimes the most obvious eludes us. You know, it's just right there, and it just eludes us. You know, we can't see. That's the biggest problem about being blind. How did he miss that? And I think what's missing in this scenario is the key factor of Jill Biden. I think that there was a time, of course, when Joe had the power wore the pants, or at least 50-50 or more. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that Joe is pretty much run by Jill. You just watch her. She leads him around. He's really wound it down a whole lot. And Jill is pretty much calling the shots. And whether or not he's going to serve out his term, there's a lot on the line now as far as Jill Biden is concerned. Joe is going to retire to his beach house in Delaware, where he'll have all kinds of handlers and the care that he will probably need, much the way Ronald Reagan did. But what's on the line here are several things that don't really involve Joe, because he's already said they're not going to prosecute him, the same way they said that they're not going to prosecute Hillary Clinton. But Jill Biden is not in the same state that Joe is. She has she had a lot of years ahead of her. And she has spent most of her adult life in the Washington, D.C. society, in the Beltway. Social gatherings, parties, fundraisers, all of that. And she's seeing all of that disappearing without Joe. And if she is ushered out of the White House without Joe finishing, that's going to be a black mark on his legacy and hers, which means that she probably is going to land in the same situation that Hillary Clinton is in. You know, Hillary Clinton used to have a lot of pomp and circumstance about her, but that's no longer the case. She can't even make a college professorship, teaching a class in a university work. And Jill Biden has never had the scandal that Hillary has had, and she doesn't want it. She wants to leave with a clean slate, and she wants her legacy of Joe and her. She was the wife of a senator, I believe that's true, and she was the wife of the vice president for 2 terms, and now she's the first lady. There's a bigger problem in this too, and that's Kamala. If Joe leaves early, Kamala becomes president, and those 2 women don't like each other from the get-go. That's been very clear. Jill did not like what Kamala did to Joe in the debates, and she's never liked her. And the very idea that Kamala is walking around the White House measuring the drapes in the master bedroom in the Oval Office is enough to send Jill into a tailspin. There is no way that Kamala is going to fill Jill's shoes in that White House as long as Joe can serve out his term. And I think that's a huge thing that's come into play here is Jill. As she's going to have it her way, Joe is going to finish out his term, and he's going to leave with all the grace and all the he'll be at the swearing in of the new, he'll be at the inauguration. He's going to go out with a lot of fanfare, and his legacy is going to be clean. There's going to be no prosecution or any of that. And that's what Jill wants. And she is the one that's running this. She is the one that's stubborn. It's not Joe. Now, there's a second major key to this, and it's important to Jill, and it's equally important to Joe, although Jill is much more focused on this than Joe is, and that's Hunter. Up until now, the media and the Democrats have been covering for Hunter because of they fear the connection that the Oversight Committee is going to make between Hunter and Joe. If they can get Hunter in some way connected to Joe in this alleged, crime family and this money that's been taken in, if they can do that, that's going to be the end of Joe's of Joe being the Democrat candidate in 2024. But they don't have to do that anymore. That's now off the table. The media doesn't have to cover for Hunter anymore, and they don't have to cover for Joe anymore, and they aren't. They're starting to ask a lot of questions that Jill doesn't want him asking as far as Joe's health and all of that. So Hunter is now out to pasture. He's got no one covering for him except Jill. And Hunter could be facing a lot of years in prison. A lot of years. If James Comer has all of the evidence that he claims he has, including bank records and sworn testimony, and more people are coming in every week to the Oversight Committee and testifying under oath. Hunter at this point has to realize that he's in big trouble because he no longer has his get out of jail free pardon from his father. Because Joe can't pardon him now. That would destroy the Democrat Party. Now, Jill might be able to say, okay, he'll leave, but I want Kamala to pardon Hunter. And there's no way that Kamala's going to do that. And why should she? She's going to say, I do that and I'll never get elected in 2024 and my political career is finished even in 2028. So she's not going to do it. So who's going to do it? The new person coming in? Are they going to do it? Is Trump going to do it? I heard the other day Trump said that if he's reelected, he's not seeking any revenge. Where did that come from? That's new. I've been hearing all along that he wants to settle up. And the Democrats have been blaming him, have been accusing him of that. He's going to come in and he's going to do to us what we did to him. Now Trump has come out and said, no, I'm not seeking revenge. That's interesting. I mean, is there some kind of deal in the works? Interesting that Trump would say that. And so they need to find somebody to not only get Hunter off the hook, but Joe's brother Jim and the other people, the grandkids even got money. They have bank records of that. And all of the business partners, all of these business partners who have been all over the place making money, allegedly. But the one who's really concerned about this is Hunter. Because Hunter is the guy that snubbed his nose to the Congress. He's the guy that's been high-stepping it all through. We've seen him at the lavish parties at the White House, and we've seen all these things, traveling the world on Air Force One, and we've seen all that. And he just smiling, holding up his kid and saying, look at that. And I mean, we've watched all that of him, of all of that. And there's 75 million plus Americans, probably a lot of Democrats that say, Biden got to skate, Joe Biden got to skate, Hillary got to skate, and we're not doing this again, especially after Trump has cost him tens of millions of dollars in legal fees, plus all the people that he knows that are facing time in prison. Some went to prison, and 90 some odd, criminal charges and indictments. He took it. And I don't know if they're willing to let Hunter get off. They're going to let Biden off because he's old and all of that. And Hillary got off, clearly. I mean, they never charged her with anything. Although Trump did say initially if he was elected, she's going to jail, but that didn't happen. But Hunter now is a loose cannon. Here's a guy who's clearly, admittedly, we all know, is a crack addict, and he's a recovering drug addict. You know what's going through his head? He's scared because his father can't save him. He doesn't even know if Jill can save him. And he's not about to spend 20 years or more years in a federal prison. And he's got a lot of money stashed away somewhere, I think. He's got millions of dollars stashed away, probably in some Swiss bank or somewhere else, where he's made off his art and whatever he's made from the deals that he's made, allegedly. He's not broke. There's no way he's broke any more than his father's broke. And so he could flee the country. He could go to a country that doesn't extradite to the United States, but he didn't want that. He wants to live here in the United States, where he's always lived, with his family, and he wants a clean slate. And how does he get that? The only possible way he can get that, he's got to flip on Pops, right? He's got to walk into the oversight committee. He's got to answer the subpoena. He's got to walk in there. What's he coming in a couple of weeks? And say, okay, I'm not going to take the fifth. What questions do you have? I'll answer them. But I want an immunity deal for myself, my uncle, my father, and all of these others, or whatever. Can he get that? I don't know. But he at least wants it for himself. At least. I mean, he's a recovering drug addict. It's pretty obvious what's going through his head. He's paranoid. He's scared, and he ought to be. If I were in his situation, I would be too. I don't care how much money I have. So that's it. And of course, Jill is sitting in the same position that Hillary's sitting in. We all know that you've been around the Beltway that long. How long has Jill been around? 40 plus years. She knows things. Same way Hillary knows things. No, still does. Jill Biden knows where all the bodies are, or a good number of them. She's got the dirt on the Democrats and the Republicans. This is not just one-sided. Is she willing to play that card? To save herself, her legacy, her husband's legacy, her son and all that? To say, fine, you're going to show me out the servant's entrance and throw the unwelcome mat on the White House steps, on the front porch, and I'm never going to be invited to another social gathering or fundraiser or anything else in Washington? Fine, go ahead and do that. But I'm not going alone. I'm taking you guys with me. Would she do that? I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, these are the questions. These are the questions. She's a key figure. And there's a lot of questions here about her and about Hunter and about all of this. And I'm really surprised that I'm not hearing Jesse Waters talk about this, Hannity, Laura Ingraham, or the mainstream media. I'm not hearing this from anybody. And I wonder why that is.